اقرأ أخيا ورتل القرآن اصدح بصوتك اسمع الأكوان اقرأ كلام الله داوي نفوسنا لنحس في أعماقنا الإيمان.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضر له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Isra, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا. We have honored the sons of Adam, provided them with transport on land and sea, given them for sustenance things good and pure, and conferred on them special favors above a great part of our creation. So Islam clarified for man that he does not deserve to live as life of worthlessness and humiliation, so he doesn't become equal to animals. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarified that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the whole universe in the service of man. All this is to incite man to control what is around him from other creatures without having to humiliate himself to anything or to fear anyone. So Allah created us automatically the way we were created, with pride, honor, dignity and integrity. This is built within us. This is not a privilege given to us by any other man. This is a gift given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once we are born. But how did man pay Allah? He did it, or thank Allah. He did it by obeying the one who refused to prostrate to Adam. That is Iblis. And not only that we are prostrating, instead we are prostrating to Iblis and to Shayateen al-Ins. And a lot of scholars consider the devils of the human beings are even stronger than the devils of the jinn, because as described in the Quran, the jinn, they can only whisper in your ear, they cannot take you from your hand. But Shayateen al-Ins, the devils of humans, they can force you and grab you from your hand and put a gun to your head, like what's happening in the Muslim world these days. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah had said, لو عرفت قدر نفسك ما أهنتها بالمعاصي إنما طرد الله إبليس من رحمته لأنه لم يسجد لك فالعجب كل العجب كيف صالحت عدوك وهجرت حبيبك الله. If you knew the value of yourself, you would not have humiliated it with disobedience. Allah expelled Satan from his mercy because he did not bow down to you. So all wonder how you made peace with your enemy from Shayateen al-Ins wa Shayateen al-Jinn and abandoned your beloved Allah. So all mankind, regardless of race, color, ethnic background, religion, or among the Muslims, different sects, are born to be free and not to be enslaved or humiliated. What is the first thing Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did when he migrated to the Medina before he even started to establish the Islamic State? He enacted a document full of human rights, and it consists of 25 rights for Muslims and 27 rights for non-Muslims. As a matter of fact, at that time the Jews were given, and even forward, the Jews and the Christians were given the rights for things like marriages in their religion and inheritance and these kind of things, that they don't have to be under the rules of the Islamic State. They can rule their own and according to their own religion. And this is the first thing Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did in Medina before even he started. So all historians and Orientalists, Muslims or non-Muslim historians I'm saying, and the Orientalists attest that this first document was in human civilization guaranteed the right of freedom of belief and worship, equality and justice for all mankind, regardless of race, color or religion, even if they are idol worshippers, because there were idol worshippers in Medina when that document of human rights was enacted. Furthermore, a lot of these historians who are not Muslims consider this is to be the pride and the glory of the Islamic civilization, which by it ruled for so many years, hundreds of years, over 1,000 years, and other Muslim empires added more rights to it. And they considered it a milestone in the political and humanitarian glory. We, us the Muslims, are the first ones who enacted this before anybody else in civilization. And the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam was giving a message when he did this. He was teaching us that national security in a country revolves around human rights. Not like now, national security revolves around the kingship or the emir or the president. But we have diverted so much from that. And the Khulafa and the empires after that, they understood this message. And one story that comes to mind is the story of Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab. After Egypt became one of the state of the Islamic State, and he appointed Amr ibn al-As to be the radiallahu anh, to be the governor over there. One day, the son of Amr ibn al-As with one of the Christian kids were doing horse racing, and the Christian kid beat the son of Amr ibn al-As. So the son of Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anh beat the Christian kid, and he told him, "You or your father cannot do anything to me because I'm the son of the governor." So the Christian kid went and told his father. So they went and traveled to Medina, where Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab was. And and the father and the son told the problem, what happened. So Khalifa Umar wrote a letter for Amr ibn al-As to come to Medina along with his son. As soon as they arrived, Khalifa Umar gave the Christian kid a whip. And he lashed the son of Amr ibn al-As until he started crying. And then Khalifa Umar held his hand and paused for a few minutes, and then he took the whip from his hand. And he told the Christian kid, "Had you continued to hit even Amr ibn al-As, I wouldn't have stopped you." And then that's when Khalifa Umar turned to Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anh and said, "Mata sta'badtum an-nasa wa qad waladathum ummahatuhum ahrara." Since when you enslaved people and their mothers gave them birth to be free individuals. This is the human right that Islam taught from that time, from back in the days of Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam and the Khulafa al-Rashidin after that. So when I talk about Islam or the Islamic State, I don't refer to the Islamic State that whoever they call it now Islamic State, that's according to the consensus of our scholars, this is un-Islamic. And the Khalifa that appointed himself on it, he's a Khalifa of the-Shayateen, of the devils. Whatever behaviors they're doing is absolutely un-Islamic. When I refer to Islam and when I refer to the Islamic State, I refer to one Islam only. That's the Islam that was revealed to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam before Islam was divided into different sects. And it was ruled that way for the first 300 years, that laid the ground for the Islamic civilization to reach all over the world. This is the Islam that I'm talking about. This is the Islam that talked about the protection of pride, integrity and dignity, humanity and mercy for all mankind. This is the scale where we measure things. Not what happened after the Renaissance, the European Renaissance. What happened, we had like a brain transfer or a personality transfer. We took all the bad behaviors from the medieval Europe, and we took all the bad behaviors from Kuffar Quraysh, because Kuffar Quraysh had some good habits that we today we don't even have it. We took the bad habits of Kuffar Quraysh and all the bad habits of medieval Europe and abandoned the teaching of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Under whatever different sects that we became, under nationalism, under communism, under nationalism, under all these fancy name isms that we came up with. And what did we end up with? we ended up to be all these groups, regimes, and un-Islamic militant groups to be on the side of the falsehood. And everybody abandoned the truth. You tell these people, whether regimes from all sects or un-Islamic group from all sects, you tell them about human rights, they have to open up the dictionary to figure out what does that mean. They don't even have it in their dictionary. And what bothers me, like the other day in New York Times, the title was the terrorist Sunnis groups, as if the 90% or the 85% of Muslims are terrorists, as if all these heinous acts in the Muslim world is coming from one sect. They don't realize that all sects went astray, Sunnis or not Sunnis. The ones who ethnically cleansed Iraq and Syria is not Sunnis. And now they have the same problem now in Yemen. And same problem in Lebanon. And we have some of it in Pakistan. So all sects have gone astray. All sects are causing heinous acts. Not only one sect. Well, unfortunately, instead of people coming to their senses and making this the scale, which is pride, integrity, dignity, humanity, and merciful on mankind, regardless of their religion or beliefs or Islamic sect that they belong to, they like want to put you to have a choice with which sect, with which group, and which regime. But they all on the falsehood. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Hud, وَلَا تَرْكُنُوا إِلَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا فَتَمَسَّكُمُ النَّارُ وَمَا لَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ مِنْ أَوْلِيَاءَ ثُمَّ لَا تُنصَرُونَ. And do not incline to the oppressors, or the fire will seize you, and you have no protectors other than Allah, nor shall you be helped. This is exactly what's happening to the Muslim Ummah. Fire has seized us. Whether it's going to seize us here and it's going to seize us in the hell in the day and the life hereafter, if we continue on that route, aligning ourselves with regimes who are oppressors, who have no respect to human rights, or with un-Islamic groups who have no value of human life and freedom of religion. Al-ulama back in the days, and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they used to say, if there is no human rights and no rights for any of the citizens, la sam'a wa la ta'a, even to the Khalifa. We don't hear, we don't listen, and we don't hear, and we don't obey from them. Everything revolves around the human rights. But look where we have gone astray. And where are the Muslim Ummah? Give me one Muslim country, the top 10 in the human rights ranking. They all 75 or above, mashallah. They all have very, very bad human rights record, all of them. I'm not going to talk about the couple of exceptions. It's like reminding me of the story of Musa alayhi salam to the Israelites entered the Holy Land, and only 2 people wanted to enter, and the hundreds of thousands didn't want to. So what's the use of me from the Ummah picking only 2 that are good and the rest are bad? The general situation of the Muslim Ummah, regimes and un-Islamic militant groups have no value to human rights. From all sects, I'm talking. Whether regimes from all sects or un-Islamic militant group from all sects. Islam came with basic rights that it's a God-given right to every man lives in an Islamic state. Every man and woman, regardless of their beliefs. That first right is the right of life, the right to live, and that includes basic items such as food, clothing, shelter, transport, health. What do? We don't even appreciate life. They go left and right killing innocent people. It doesn't matter, as long as you say no to them, they label you a kafir or a murtad. And they kill you, they take your life. They rape the women, they rape the children, and this goes from all sects. It's not only one sect. And Allah very clearly said in the Quran, whoever kills one innocent soul is as if, and He's specifying, not only a Muslim or a mu'min, any innocent soul, even if he's an atheist. You kill an innocent soul, it's as if you kill the entire population. No value to life whatsoever. And this protection of life is supposed to be controlled and preserved by the regimes and the government. But what are you going to do if the regime themselves is ethnically cleansing their own population? The second right is the right of religion. A lot of you over here know that this week I was in a hearing in Norwalk for the Norwalk Masjid. And the settlement was done in favor of the Norwalk Masjid, $2 million plus. And the panel of 14, along with the mayor of Norwalk, each one of them stood up and apologized to the Muslim community for the pain they inflicted on the Muslim communities, for the delay they caused to them, and the fear that was put on the Muslim communities from the threats they received from other people from Norwalk. They literally apologized. I had tears in my eyes, and the first one that came to my mind was Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, when he said, I'd rather live in a kafir regime that is a just regime rather than live under a Muslim regime that is unjust rule. This is exactly what happened. What do the Muslims do in the Muslim countries? Aside from destroying churches and other worship places, they destroying the majority of places that they destroy is Masjid. And that's not done only by an Islamic militant group from all sects. This is also done by regimes. One Muslim country in less than a year and a half closed and destroyed over 1,000 mosques. And this is regimes. Regimes in Iraq and Syria and now in Yemen, well, not the regime, this is the militants, destroying Masjid and places that teach Quran. A story that comes to mind over here is Al-Khalifa also Umar ibn al-Khattab when he entered Jerusalem and he wanted to see the Kanisat al-Qiyamah, which is the holy, the Church of Holy Sepulchre in English. After he toured it, he went outside and he did 2 rak'at thanking Allah for the victory that came to the Muslims. So the Christians and the Muslim leaders asked him, why didn't you pray inside? They thought that the Muslims cannot do their prayers inside a church. He said, no, we can do our prayers inside the church. But I was afraid there will come one day, because I prayed in this church, that a Muslim will come and destroy the church to build a mosque. Where are we these days from that? These Muslims, some Muslims acting like as if they are, astaghfirullah al-azim, they are better than all these Sahabas and all these our successful predecessors. The third right, and I won't be able, the human rights topic is a huge topic. I'm not going to be able to finish or talk about everything. I just want to talk about the basic things. The third right, and it's a God-given right, has to be given by regimes. It's the right of knowledge, the right of intellect, the right of education. Where are the kids in some countries 6 years, 7 years, or 10 years old? They are not able to go to schools because they have to help their parents work. And what do their bosses do to them? They enslave them, aside from raping them. This is in Muslim countries. And what happens when these kids grow up? They become very good candidates to be terrorists. This is the unjust rule that's happening here in the Muslim countries. The Muslim countries has the highest illiteracy rate in the world, like I mentioned before in another khutbah. And even though they are Ummat Aqra, they are Ummat Read, they are the nation of read, they have the highest illiteracy rate, especially among women. One enemy of Islam in 1948, named Moshe Dayan, he's the previous defense secretary of the Zionist entity. Back in 1948, when they took Palestine, he said one famous saying, but he said it to the Arabs, but it applies to all Muslims these days. Because there was concern regarding maybe the Arab population would retaliate. They weren't worried about the Arab leaders, because some of them collaborated with the help to establish the Zionist entity. They were worried about the Arab population. So he said, don't worry about the Arab population. The majority of them are illiterate. And even if they know how to read, they don't read. And even if they read, they don't comprehend. Is that true or not true? It is so true. And that applies not only to the Arabs, also to all the Muslims. The only two books that they love to read, them Muslims, especially the Arabs, are cookbooks and dream books. It's like we all of a sudden became nations that like to sleep and dream and eat only. Nothing else. The fourth right is the right to have a family. Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, at his time, the zakat money, there was no poor person to give the zakat money to. So he gave the money to the youth so they can get married, so they can establish a family at such young age. People in our Muslim countries are not able to get married because they have no jobs, and we're coming to that in a minute. They have no jobs, they cannot afford housing. They are in 40s and 50s or upper 30s, and they are not able to get married. So what happens because of that? Corruption increases. Relationship outside of the sanctity of marriage increased. A lot of children out of wedlocks in the Muslim countries increased. All that because the regimes, the country, is not helping families to protect the life of families and to protect and what we call in nasab. One other right is the right of work, the right of wealth. It's a God-given right for every human being in the Muslim world to have a job and work and be able to spend money on their family, at least to survive. This is not a privilege, this is a God-given right. And that right has to be given by the government. Okay? We have the highest unemployment rate in the world. Only the governments care about, and these un-Islamic government and these from all sects, okay? They only care about the big businessmen, even though they do money laundering, embezzlement, and corruption, yet they help them to stay into power. They use them to keep these regimes in power. And when they want to cut the hands, they cut the hand like a few years ago of a poor man stole a chicken to feed his family. They go and cut his hand. Instead of cutting the hands of people that stole billions of dollars of the wealth of the Muslims. We have the highest unemployment rate, even though the two-thirds of the, I think it's two-thirds of the national resources in earth is with the Muslim countries. Yet our people do not have jobs. And they wonder how these people find their way into terrorism. That's why you need to dig into the root cause. Does correcting a mistake with a mistake is right? No, it's not right. You're still in the falsehood. But unfortunately, this is the situation where the Muslims were put in. They are not able to see the side of the truth. They don't understand what pride, integrity, and dignity means anymore, because they've been stepped on for the past 200 years. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صاحب الخلق العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Allah also says in Surah Al-Imran, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You are the best community which has been brought forth for mankind. You command what is proper and forbid what is improper, and you believe in God. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses Muslims that Islam has also given people the right to freedom of association and formation of parties or organizations. This right is also subject to certain general rules. It should be exercised for propagating virtue and righteousness, and should never be used for spreading evil, mischief, or to be militant. We have not only been given this right for spreading righteousness and virtue, but have been ordered to exercise this right. This means that it is an obligation and duty of the entire Muslim community that it should invite and enjoin people to righteousness and virtue and forbid them from doing evil. So it's fard kifaya. Otherwise, their sin will be put on the entire ummah. Allah says also in Surah Al-Imran, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let there be a community among you who will invite people to do good, command what is proper and forbid what is improper. Those will be the prosperous. So this clearly indicates that if the entire Muslim nation collectively begins to neglect this obligation to invite people to goodness and forbid them from doing evil, then it is absolutely essential that it should contain at least a group of people which may perform this obligation. Unfortunately, in our countries, organizations or parties that have they doing virtuous acts or righteous acts, they put in jail or executed, they rape their women, they destroy them, and all these things. Parties that are, propagate socialism, liberalism, talk about, propagate evil things in society are welcomed. They don't want people to come to good understanding of the Islam that came down to Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. They want people, the Islam that they want people to follow, they want Islam with a lot of innovations. Okay? They want Islam, they want people to treat Islam as if it's a religion of monk. It's only religion, you go to the mosque and leave, and that's all what Islam is about. And go to the mosques and to Hajj and these things, the basic things. Okay? I had said Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam did not teach us this is what Islam is all about. Do not compare Islam to any other religion. Islam is a whole way of life, is a whole system of life. But unfortunately, they are not allowed to do that. And the Muslims, what are they put in? The Muslims are, unfortunately, back home. We are over here have more freedom. And we are able to read and talk about things. And especially also in Europe and Australia and other places. But unfortunately, in the Muslim world, the Muslims got caught between the hammer of the tyrant regimes from all sects and the anvil of the un-Islamic militant groups. And they have to choose one. You cannot choose any one of them. They are from the school of the falsehood. You incline yourself to any one of them, the fire will seize you here in this life, and not in this life, definitely in the life hereafter. You have to propagate pride, integrity, dignity, humanity, mercy, and the right to live and life to all mankind. This is what you need to propagate. You need to stop being passive. Unfortunately, a lot of Muslims are passive, or they incline to be aggressive. When Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam teaches us to be assertive, we need not to be afraid to speak. Islam is the religion of mercy and a religion of peace and love. What guilt do you have talking about this? Unfortunately, people are looking at us as the religion of vicious or savagery. I loved it the other day when one of the brothers put on a social network a picture of what would the world be without Muslims. Didn't we teach the civilization that? The human right declaration that we have right now, overwhelming majority from it is taken from the teaching of Islam. They are applying it in their societies. We are not applying it at all in our societies. And this is the obligation of regimes. This is how you get rid of these terrorist groups from all sects. You have justice to all mankind living in the Muslim world. But I'm 100% sure, because the majority of the population in the Muslim world is the youth, and 80% of them understand what's going on. 80% of them understand what's going on, and they are not gonna incline themselves to these unethical, militant, un-Islamic group or to these dictatorship regimes from all sects. They're gonna stay by the truth, and they're gonna pose their opinion in a peaceful manner until they give freedom back to all citizens of the Muslim world, inshallah. Before I finish, because a lot of you are gonna have to leave, we have few announcements. This Sunday, inshallah, we have a meeting, our monthly meeting, right after Asr at 5:30, and we have Sheikh Hamad Al-Din Abu Al-Hilja, I hope I said his name correct, and he's talking about Al-Hajj with Al-Hijjah. Also, since the moon was not sighted locally meaning North America or South America, and I'm including Canada, today Danbury Masjid is following today as the first day of Dhul Hijjah, and because of that Danbury Masjid will have the Eid on Sunday the 5th, and the takbirat will start at 8:30, and the Eid prayer will be at 9 o'clock. And I remind everyone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to send prayers to Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam when he said, إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب سبحان ربنا رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.